The job market for designers right now is brutal.
It's brutal out there.
Yeah, well, quality people rise to the top, especially in paper.
Well, I had a similar attitude 10 months ago.
Whether you're a junior, mid-level, or a senior level designer, every single open position I'm seeing right now is being flooded with hundreds, if not thousands of applications. On top of that, a lot of these companies are using ATS scans to sift through all the resumes that they're getting, which makes it even harder to make it to the HR screening process, let alone get an actual interview. So what can you do to make yourself stand out and give yourself the best chance of getting hired? Well, it all starts with your resume. I mean, think about it. It doesn't matter how great your work or your portfolio are if you're not even making it past the initial resume screening, right? That's why in today's video, I'll be showing you exactly how to design, layout, and write your resume to stand out to both ATS scans and recruiters and get hired. Let's get into it. Okay, so today we'll be creating the perfect resume and cover letter for designers. If you're looking to do a deep dive on writing the actual copy for your resume, the sorts of things you should be including there, be sure to check out my last resume video, which I will link up above as well as in the description down below. That's been one of the highest viewed videos on the channel, so I appreciate all the support there. But the thing I kept seeing in your comments was that you wanted to see more about designing the actual resume itself and the layout. So that's what we'll be focused on in today's video. I'll be jumping into Figma in just a second here to walk you through the design. You're free to reference that, to copy it for your own resume as you see fit. Or if you'd like to save some time and support the channel, I've made the template available on the Artful Ruckus store as well. This is actually the exact template that I use as an art director with over 15 years of experience in the industry. I can verify that it works in ATS scans, and it has also gotten me callbacks and interviews, so I know that it works. All right, without further ado, let's jump into Figma and look at how to design the perfect resume. So when it comes to the design of your resume, less is more. I see a ton of designers that try too hard to showcase their design skills on their resume. They're adding a ton of headshots and skill sliders and icons and logos, and it ends up detracting from the legibility of the information. Your resume is a place where you should be showing off your restraint. It's an opportunity to showcase your mastery of the grid, layout, hierarchy, and typography. Legibility and content are king here, not bells and whistles, not overly designing things. We just want to focus on the information. The more of these distracting design elements you add, the more likely you are to confuse ATS scans and distract recruiters, and the less likely you are to make it through the screening process. So as you can see here in the design itself, the layout is very clean, it's very reserved. I've put everything in a 12-column layout on a 4-pixel grid, so the spacing is consistent throughout and pleasing to the eye. What using a strict grid does is that it shows hiring managers that you have the mastery of the fundamentals, right? It shows that you pay attention to the details. It shows that you know how to make information easy to read, that you know how to focus on legibility. So it's a small thing, seemingly in the grand scheme of things, but it makes a big impact. I find that a lot of junior and midweight designers don't tend to use grids. They just kind of eyeball things and nudge it around till it looks right. So as a hiring manager, as an art director, when I see you using a grid, it makes a big difference, and I can tell that you have a mastery of the fundamentals. One thing to note here is that I've designed this template using 2 columns. So this is the layout that I personally use. I've tested it in a number of ATS scans. I've applied to jobs, I've gotten interviews and callbacks, so I know that it works. But I know some people are scared of the 2 columns. They like to stick to 1 column just to remove as much friction as humanly possible. So if you do want to make this into a 1-column layout, you can certainly do that. Just delete this secondary column over here, drag out the first column, and then put capabilities and education at the end. Really quick and easy to do. But again, I have not had a problem with 2 columns. I think it's the best of both worlds for ATS scans and recruiters. But depending on how safe you want to play it, feel free to make that change. Okay, so next up, let's talk about typography. So this is an area where it's important to establish a system for your resume that creates hierarchy that's easy to skim and jump around from section to section. That means that there should be an obvious difference between your header section, your job titles, and body copy. that can be scanned quickly by both AI systems and recruiters. As you can see here, it's really easy to see the differences between my section headers, my body copy, the jobs that I've listed here, the dates. It's all just really easy to look at it, to skim, and to jump around visually. So just make it really clear and easy and create that hierarchy so that way both ATS scans and people can just look at this, skim through it in a matter of seconds and parse the information. One mistake I see a lot of designers making here is that they use too many fonts, weights, styles. They're trying to make things visually interesting instead of focusing on making it easy to read. And so again, your resume is a place to highlight your restraint and your ability to lay out a lot of information as simply as possible. So don't go too crazy. Don't use those fun fonts you just downloaded the other day. Stick to the classics, stick to things that are really easy to read. Again, show off your mastery of the fundamentals and your restraint. So as you can see here, I've put together a style guide for this template that just showcases kind of the different header sizes and styles and the body copy. So this is two different fonts here. I just use Intertight as well as regular Enter for the body.
How original. And with extra onions. Daring today, aren't we?
I've created text styles for everything here, so it's really easy to change out these fonts and it'll change it out throughout all of the different elements of the resume and the cover letter. Obviously, you don't need to stick to these exact same fonts and sizes. This is just kind of to give you a baseline and something that I know that works. But again, using the style guide, it's really easy to switch out the styles here and it'll update throughout the rest of the documents in a matter of seconds. So feel free to use your own brand fonts, your own brand colors. But again, keep it restrained, keep it legible, focus on the fundamentals. So speaking of restraint, color is yet another area that I recommend keeping things pretty minimal. As you can see in the template, I've gone with a monotone color palette that utilizes shades of gray to create hierarchy and separation between headings and body copy. I have included an accent color in the style guide, so if you do want to add a little bit of color, that's one way to do it. Right now, it's linked up to this job title right here. If you want to add a little bit more color, you could probably apply the accent color to maybe the dates that you held each position. I would recommend keeping it minimal. Once again, you don't want to be using a ton of color here. So I would say your accent color should be less than 10% of the overall color palette of your resume. And once again, you can see here that I'm applying all these same principles to the cover letter. We'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end of the video, but just from a design standpoint, cover letter is on the exact same grid as I have on the main resume. So everything aligns perfectly. It's the same typography treatments, the same colors, everything's linked to the style guide. So you want to, again, show off that you can make a mini brand system here. So this is an opportunity to keep these two things very consistent. Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the video so far and finding it valuable. If you are, please take a second to like this video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. As a small content creator, every engagement counts, so I really appreciate it. As always, I read and reply to every single comment, so if you have any questions about your resume, if you have any comments about the template, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear from you. All right, enough of that. Let's get back to the video. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at the overall design of the resume, let's take a look at which sections you should be including. So the first section you should have right at the top is a header that includes your name, job title, a link to your portfolio, your phone number, and your email address. You can include a link to your LinkedIn here as well if you think it adds value, if you keep it up to date and it paints you in a good light. If you don't keep your LinkedIn that up to date, feel free to leave it out. The goal with putting all this info right at the top of your resume is to make it as easy as possible for hiring managers to have all the most important info they might need right off the bat. This is also the info that the ATS is going to look for first, because this is kind of the best practice, is to put this at the top. So it's important to provide it where the system is expecting it. Another thing to note here is that you should be adding actual clickable links to your portfolio address as well as your LinkedIn address if you include that, just to make it as easy as possible for hiring managers. So instead of making them having to copy the link, paste it into their address bar in their browser, just make it a clickable link to make it super easy for them to access those different pages. So the next section I recommend including is a summary section. This is essentially a short 3 to 4 sentence elevator pitch that quickly establishes who you are, what sets you apart, and your relevant skills and experience. Be sure to tailor everything that you're including in the summary as far as your skills and experience directly to the requirements of the position that you're applying for. So for instance, if you're applying for both art director and brand designer roles, you can create 2 different resumes, one that has a summary highlighting your art direction skill set and one that highlights your brand design experience. A summary is also beneficial for ATS scans because it's an opportunity to reinforce keywords from the job description that makes the AI overlords happy.
It's difficult to tell from this vantage point whether they will consume the captive Earthmen or merely enslave them. One thing is for certain, there is no stopping them. The ants will soon be here. And I, for one, welcome our new insect overlords.
Obviously, you don't want to keyword stuff here and make it seem fake or inorganic. You want it to come across naturally, but again, it's nice that the AI scans are able to kind of pick up on the main things that you're including in your elevator pitch. Next up is the section that's going to make up the bulk of your resume, the experience section. So this is where you want to include all of your relevant past jobs, highlighting your job title, company name, the dates you worked there, the location, and 2 to 3 key accomplishments for each role. I'm a big fan of using the bullet point approach instead of paragraphs because it makes it easier to read, it makes the information quicker to scan and kind of parse through each accomplishment. So I highly recommend going that route. As far as the information to include here, you should be writing in an active voice and highlighting tangible accomplishments. You want to showcase that your work has a strong ROI and that your projects were an undeniable success. So for example, instead of saying something like, I worked as the lead social designer, crafting multiple new campaigns that helped grow our socials and increase post engagements, which doesn't really have any metrics or tangible results included in that accomplishment. You could say something like, launched 15 social campaigns in 2025 that increased Instagram following by 25% and drove over 500,000 engagements. So as you can see, that takes something that feels very vague and you're not exactly sure what happened, what the results were, and it makes it very concrete. It makes it really easy to understand for someone that wasn't involved in that project, what happened, what effect you had, and what the ROI was. Kind of the formula to look at here is to include metrics, showcase an improvement over previous results, and highlight a timeline in which it happened to give full context to each accomplishment. Just like with the summary, make sure that you're tailoring all the accomplishments you're including for each role to the jobs that you're applying for to make them as relevant as possible. The next section we'll take a look at is the capabilities section. So this is a section I don't see on every resume, but I think it is very valuable because it showcases things outside of just work experience. This is where you can list all of your different soft skills and tools that you have expertise in. This section is basically going to work as a checklist for hiring managers as well as ATS scans, quickly reinforcing that you have the necessary skills for the job and that you have experience with the required software. I strongly recommend staying away from things like sliders and skill graphs here. You don't need to tell an employer that you have an 80% proficiency in Photoshop. That's not really a measurable metric that you're including there. It's kind of a weird guess, but also you're hurting yourself as a candidate, right? You're telling them that you're not 100% of an expert, you're only partially there. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So I'd recommend staying away from those sorts of skill sliders and things like that. As far as what you include here, you don't have to be a master of everything that you're putting in your capability section, but you should have a functional working knowledge of anything that you do put in here. Stay away from including skills or software that you don't actually have much experience with, as that will quickly be obvious in an interview or on your portfolio, and nothing will get you disqualified as a candidate quicker than getting caught in a lie. So finally, the last section that you want to include is your education section. For midweight designers and above, this should be a short section at the end of your resume that includes where you went to school, the degree you earned, and the year you graduated. On the other hand, for college students and recent grads, this section becomes more important and therefore can be placed after the summary, more towards the top of your resume. Since you likely don't have a ton of relevant job experience yet, you can build out your education section with relevant projects, awards, clubs, extracurricular activities, and your GPA. Be sure to do your best to write about your projects and education in a similar fashion to how we wrote the experience section, using action verbs, bullet points, and tangible metrics whenever possible. So as a junior designer, employers are going to understand you don't have a ton of experience. So that's why this education section can kind of become a replacement for that. just to try to show off some accomplishments, to show off how active you are in the design community, that you are actively working towards becoming a professional designer. Okay, so now that we've talked about the overall design of your resume and what to include, here's some other things to note. The first thing I want to call out here is that if you're a senior designer or a creative leader and you have a ton of experience, feel free to make your resume 2 pages. Before ATS scans were commonplace, I was a big fan of brevity, of keeping everything on 1 page as much as possible. But now with the prevalence of ATS scans, that extra page with more information is going to go a longer way. It's going to help it pick out keywords and make sure that you're a good fit for the role. So again, feel free to make it 2 pages if needed. Another important thing to note here is that if you are using Figma for your design, be sure to use the plugin that I included in the template to export, because Figma still hasn't perfected text in PDF export. So if you export directly from Figma to a PDF, it won't render properly in the ATS. You won't be able to copy and select the text the way that you normally would be able to. So if you use that plugin, it fixes it and it makes it perfect for ATS scans. And lastly, I want to quickly touch on cover letters. So for any application that you come across that allows you to upload a cover letter, I highly suggest writing one and including that with your application. I know it's time consuming and it's kind of a hassle to keep rewriting cover letters for every job you apply to, but with how competitive the market is right now, it's just another thing that's going to help you stand out just a little bit more. And I could see some HR departments just nixing any application that comes in that doesn't have one. So I definitely think it's worth the time to write that for each application that you do. From a design standpoint, your cover letter should very closely match your resume as far as fonts and layout. In the template I've created, I have a style guide that links both of them together to make that really easy to do, but you just want to make sure that they're very cohesive. From a content perspective, you want to start off your cover letter with a quick elevator pitch about yourself and your skill set, and you also want to touch on what excites you the most about the opportunity. Next, you want to touch on key wins and achievements from your previous roles that align closely with the job requirements of the position that you're applying to. And finally, you want to put a bow on it by reiterating what excites you about the company and the position and expressing your interest in learning more. Your cover letter doesn't have to be a novel. It can just be 2 to 3 quick paragraphs. Your main goal here is just to showcase your strengths and accomplishments while expressing genuine interest in the open role. Okay guys, so now you should have the perfect resume to help you land that next design job. You've got a clean, legible layout, a pixel perfect grid, clear hierarchy, along with purposeful achievements backed by tangible metrics. Now, whether your resume is being scanned by an ATS or read by a recruiter, you've got it covered. For those of you on the job search right now, I know it's a struggle. Best of luck to you. Be sure to keep your head up. For those of you that support the channel and buy the template, thank you so much. For everyone else, I hope to see you in the next video. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now go out there and make a ruckus.